Hello friends, welcome back to automationtestinginsider.com. This is Selenium WebDriver part 68 and today we are going to talk about data-driven testing, or I would say data-driven framework, or we can say parameterization. And previous few videos we talked about how to read data from Excel file, how to write data into Excel file, and in the last video we have seen the complete Excel library. So we are going to use those concepts in data-driven testing, and this is an important topic, most important topic I would say. So today we'll look into what is data driven testing and why it is required. So we'll talk about some theoretical stuff, and later on I'll show you demo as well. So let's get started. First, like, what is data driven testing? So what is data driven testing? So the name itself says that data driven testing, so the testing which is driven by data. So this example, or I would say this definition, I have taken from guru99.com. So what it says, data driven is a test automation framework which stores test data in a table or spreadsheet format. So in data driven testing, we'll maintain the test data in separate file. Okay, you can say Excel sheet or in database, and we'll execute a script. We'll pick the test data from our data file and we'll execute the script. So this allows automation engineers to have a single test script which can execute tests for all the test data in the table. So we'll maintain our test data in a spreadsheet in rows and column format. Okay, and we'll supply the test data into our script, and from there we'll perform actions on our application. Okay, so this image shows the same thing. So this is our data file from where we are supplying the data to our driver script. Okay, from driver script, or you can say test script, we are picking up the data from data file and performing action on this application under test. Okay, and this will give us some result. So, and this would be actual result, and we'll compare with our expected outcome. Okay, so that will give you result, like whether your test case is getting passed or failed. Okay, so this is like how it works, data driven testing. So the basic example, or I would say the basic definition and basic explanation of data driven testing. Now what is next is why data driven testing is required. Okay, so here I have listed down couple of examples where we need data driven testing. So the first example is we want to test the login system with multiple input fields. Okay, so this is an example. Suppose we want to test the login system with multiple data sets of 100 different data. Okay, of 100 users you can take, you can say. To test this you can take the following different approaches. So the first approach is create 100 scripts, one for each data set, and run each test separately one by one. So what it says, will create 100 scripts for each data, and then we'll run our script one by one. So this would be very time consuming. What about approach 2 now? What it says, manually change the value in the test script and run it several times. So what we'll do, we'll create only one script and every time we'll change the test data. So this will again time consuming process. What about third approach then? Import the test data from Excel sheet and fetch test data from Excel rows one by one and execute the script. So what it says, that we'll keep our test data in Excel format row wise. Okay, all the 100 test data, and we'll pick one by one in our test script. So in the given three scenarios, first two are laborious and time consuming. So these first two will take a lot of time, correct? Therefore it is ideal to follow the third approach. So third approach would be recommended. Okay, so this would be the best way. Thus the third approach is nothing but data driven framework. So this third approach is kind of data driven framework or data driven testing. And the second example of data driven testing is, let's say suppose we want to test different products in e-commerce application. Okay, So let's say we have typical e-commerce application where we want to test different products. Okay, so what would be the process? First we need to log in into the application. We have to pick the product, and we have to check out, and at last log out. Okay, make the payment and check out. So this is how the process in e-commerce application. So for this one also we can apply data driven testing. We can keep all the products in Excel sheet format, and we'll write only one script to execute over all the test cases, all the test cases for all sets of test data. What are the different advantages of data driven testing, or you can say data driven framework? So reusability of code. So definitely when we keep only one script for different sets of test data, then reusability of code will be there. No need to write the script again and again. Okay, so we can reuse the code for different sets of test data. Improves the test coverage. So definitely it will improve the test coverage. Let's say we have different scenarios. Take an example of login functionality. So suppose we want to test for valid login, invalid login. Okay, let's say with different suppose we want to test for different users. So we can write only one script, and we can supply all the test data for all the scenarios. So this improves the test coverage as well. So we can cover all the functionalities in a single test script by supplying different sets of test data. Faster execution. Okay, so there won't be duplication of code. Will keep only one test script. Okay, so this will enhance the performance as well. So we'll write, instead of writing 100 test script, we'll keep only one script. Okay, and another thing is less maintenance. So since we have a separate file to maintain the test data, so it would be easy to go there and change the test data accordingly, to set the test data accordingly. Okay, similarly for test script as well, suppose we want to change something, then we can go to test script and we can change accordingly. So very less maintenance will be there in data driven testing. And the last point is permits better error handling. So error handling would be also very easy, because we have separate, let's say something wrong with the test data, so we can go to the test data folder or test data file, and where there we can change our test data accordingly, and we have separate test script, and we can handle the error accordingly. Okay, whenever we get any error. So these are the different advantages of data driven testing. And then the question comes, like, how to implement data driven testing. So in TestNG we have data provider. Okay, so basically to pass the test data in our script, we have two ways in TestNG. The first one is by using parameters from testng.xml file, and second would be data provider. So this is an important feature provided by TestNG, is the TestNG data provider feature. Okay, so it helps you to write data driven test, which essentially means that same test method can be run multiple times with different data sets to test this. So okay, so using this annotation at the test data provider, we can pick the test data and we can supply it to our test script. So I'll show you in couple of minutes with the help of demo. To use the data provider feature in the test, you have to declare a method annotated by data provider. Okay, so we'll maintain one method, separate method, where we'll use at the data provider, and then use the set method in the test method. Okay, so from here we'll in the separate method we'll use this data provider annotation to pick the test data and provide the test data into our test scripts. Here you can see, and then use the set method in test method using the data provider attribute in the at the test annotation. Okay, so we have separate method where we pick the data from using data provider. Okay, and we'll supply to our test methods. And data provider returns a two-dimensional Java object, and test method will invoke m times in a m into n type of object array. So that method, the separate method, will return two-dimensional object. Okay, so that will be denoted m into n, and this is rows and this is column. Okay, so row and column. So let's say suppose we have two rows and two columns, so our test case will execute two times. Suppose we have four rows and two columns, so that will run four times. Okay, according to the number of rows, our test case will execute that many times. Now today I'll show you this demo or data driven example without using Excel sheet. So here we'll understand like how to supply. So manually I'll create one, I'll create one 2D array of 2D array, and where we'll store our test data, and we'll pass the test data from there using data provider. Okay, and in the next video I'll show you data driven example with Excel sheet. So we'll pick the data from Excel sheet, and we'll pass the data to our script using data provider. Okay, so that we'll see in the next video. First we'll understand the concept of data driven testing. Okay, so let's have a look data driven testing of login functionality. Okay, so what I'll do, if you go to my blog automationtestinginsider.com, so just navigate to demo websites. So we'll pick any application, and we'll implement the data driven testing for login functionality. Okay, so let's pick any application. So I'll pick this orange HRM application. So Eclipse is already opened here. So what I'll do, I'll create new Maven project. I'll select Maven project, click on next, create a simple project, next, and here I'll write data driven test, or let's write framework, data driven framework. It will be very long, so let's keep data driven only. I'll use artifact ID same as group ID, click on finish. So our project is created here, data driven. So here we have pom.xml, and here I'll use dependency stack to put all our dependencies. Okay, dependencies to download all the required jar files. So already I kept in this notepad. So we need Selenium Java jar files first of all, correct? So I'll put Selenium Java jar files over here. Dependency. So this will download Selenium Java jar files, and the next thing we need is TestNG. So since we are not going to use Excel sheet today, so no need of Apache PY. Yeah, and yeah, instead of test you use compile, so that there won't be any compilation error, and all the package will be imported. Okay, so simply we need to do Control S. So all the jar files will be downloaded here in Maven dependencies. You can see the Selenium Java, and you can see TestNG as well. Now what I'll do, inside main package I'll create one src main Java folder. I'll create one package com.base, and src test Java I'll create one test package com.test cases. What happened? com.test cases. Click on finish, and in this base package I'll create one class called base class to initialize WebDriver. Okay, so click on finish, And guys, already I have this setup method here. I have already copied to launch the browser. So simply I'll pick it up and put it over here. So this is just to launch the browser. So what I'll do, I'll declare our WebDriver here, driver, and we have to import Chrome driver from org.openqr.selenium.chrome. So this is done. So this setup method is to just launch the browser and navigate to URL. So what is our URL? This orange HRM. So I'll copy the URL from here and simply I'll put it over here. Okay, so here we have set the property of Chrome driver path, and this is Chrome driver object we have created to start the session, and simply we need to maximize the browser and navigate to this URL, and I'll give annotation before method, so it will run before every test method. And I'll write one more method, public void tear down, and simply what I'll do, driver dot quit. Okay, and this would be at the rate after method. Yeah, so this is simple base class where we are launching our browser and navigating to URL using setup method, and this is tear down method once our test case getting executed, and after that I'll close the browser, and I'll write test case now. I'll create one class, data driven test, click on finish. So we want to use the WebDriver, so I'll extend the base class. Now here I'll write first test case, public void, let's say login test, and in this test what we need to do is we need to inspect the username and password, and we'll supply username and password. So first of all we need to inspect from here what is the username. So this is the ID of username. So simply you'll write command driver dot, one second, why it is, I think it is not declared as public, so we have to declare as public here, public WebDriver driver. Now we can use driver over here, driver find element by dot ID, and we'll put our ID over here, dot send keys method we have. Similarly same is for password, so let's inspect password as well, txt password. Simply we'll put txt password over here, and what is the next, to click on login button. So what is, let's inspect login button as well. So button ID we have btn login, so we'll put it over here, and what we are going to perform, click operation, correct. So this is done. Now what we'll do, we'll pick the test data from our separate method which we are going to create in base class. So what I'll do, I'll store two parameters, have two parameters over here, string username, and this parameter data will be supplied using data provider. So I'll show you in a couple of minutes, and I'll have one more parameter, string password, and same we have to supply here, and password as well. This is done. Now after logging into the application, let's put assertion. Okay, so what I'll do, we have command driver dot get current URL. Okay, so we'll get the current URL and I'll store in variable. Let's say this would be actual URL, store in a variable, and I'll have expected URL as well. Expected URL. So what would be the expected URL after logging into the application? So let's check admin and admin123, click on login. So this would be my expected URL. Okay, now simply we'll put assertion using assert class. We have method assert equals, and simply we'll put the actual URL over here and compare with expected URL. So this is how you can put the assertion. So our test case is ready. Now what we'll do, we need to supply the test data, correct, to this login method, login test method. So how we can provide? So here I'll create a separate method. Let's say public void get data. Okay, and what I'll do here, I'll create an array and we'll store some values and we'll pass the test data. Okay, we'll annotate this with data provider and we'll pass the test data to test method. So how to store the test data? So I'll create an array of object type, so we can store every kind of test data. Okay, whether it's boolean or string or okay numeric or anything, we can store in this array. So this is how you can create the array. So here this is the data type and a double square bracket, and here we'll put the our array name, data objects, and using new keyword object. One second. Yeah, and here we have to define the array size. Okay, so let's say I want two rows and two columns. Okay, let's say 3 rows and 2 columns we want. So this is how we can create the array. Now here we want to, let's give simple name data only. Now let's store some values, put some values in array. Okay, so how we put data. So how it will store the values, let me show you. So we have created our array like this. Let me create one diagram over here. So 2D array, right? So in the form of rows and columns like this. So we have two columns and we have these are our rows. So we have 3 rows and 2 columns. Now we need to store the test data. So how will we store? So this would be 0th column and 0th rows. Okay, this will be 0th rows first column, this will be first row 0 column, this will be first row and first column. Okay, and this would be second row 0, second row first column, correct. So this is how we need to store the test data. So index starts from 0, so this would be 0th column and 0th row, 0 1 2, and here 0 and 1. So let me, we can write, so this will be 0th row, this will be first row, and this will be second row. Similarly here column, this is the 0th column, and this will be, one second, let's write over here, this will be 0th column and this will be first column. Okay, so we have 3 rows and 2 columns. So now let's store the test data. So first would be 0 0. So we'll store the test data like this, admin, that is username. Okay, and simply copy paste. This is third set of test data. So 00 admin, this would be password. So 0 1 first, 0 row and first column. So let's say first is valid login, second one is 10 and 11. So 10, I'll take this as admin 1, and what would be the column, I mean second test data for password 11. So this would be 1 and 1. Let's say password will keep the same. So this is my second test data. What would be the third test data, third row, that means second index 2 and 0, and we'll use admin 2. And what would be for the password, second row and first column. Okay, so this is how we can maintain the test data, and this will return data. Okay, and we have to change the method return type to object. So this is how we can keep our test data in the form of arrays. We have created arrays of 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, so here I'm not using Excel sheet, guys. Okay, so in the next video I'll show you how to pick the data using Excel library. Okay, in this method, and from here we'll pass the test data to our script using data provider. So here we can use, because we are maintaining in this get data, we are maintaining all the test data in this get data only, get data method. So simply we'll pick the data using data provider. So this is data provider annotation, and inside that bracket we have to write name and name of the data provider. So let's say name of the provider will give credentials. Okay, and how to pass the test data into script. So here we have to give @test annotation. Okay, to run our test case using TestNG, simply import TestNG this test from org testng.annotations, and inside bracket over here we'll write data provider, and this is the what you can say parameter, and here we have to pass the name of the data provider. So what is the name of the data provider? Credentials. Simply put the credentials over here. Now I think our test case everything is ready, so let me just recap like what we have done. So we have created couple of methods over here. We have setup method to launch the browser and navigate to this URL orange HRM inside base class. Okay, and we have tear down, we have given annotation before method and after method, and in this test script we have created single test login test, where we have written some Selenium commands to enter username and password and click on login button, and later on we have written one assertion to compare the expected and actual result, and we are passing the data to this login test using data provider from base class. So we have created a method get data, and here we have created an array of object type which stored the data, 3 data over here. Okay, and using data provider we are passing the data to this login test method. So this is very simple test, guys. So let me just run it. So browser is launched. It will navigate to browser, navigate to orange HRM and enter username and password. User should successfully logged in, and it will close the browser. So this is my first set of test data. This would be second set of test data. It will enter username as admin1, which is wrong. Correct, we don't have user like admin1. and this would be also, this will also fail, admin 2. So all the test cases executed, we have 3 test cases, 1 pass and 2 failures. If you see here, so this is the first test case. Here you can see admin and admin 1 2 3. This is the first set of test data. The second set of test data is admin 1 and admin 1 2 3, which is failed because of assertion error, because we are expecting this URL but we didn't get, because since user is not able to log in. The third similar is for the third test data as well, similar result. Admin 2 is my username and admin is the password. So this is how you can execute your test cases using data driven testing. So we'll maintain Excel sheet in real time, so that example I'll show you in the next video. Okay, so this is just to explain how data driven testing works, and where you can maintain your test data and how to pass using data provider. So in the next video guys, I'll explain like how to perform data driven testing using Excel sheet. So this is all about today. So thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. If you are new to my channel, then please subscribe it. Thank you. Bye bye.